Hello and g'day. In today's video we're making a mini tag journal. I'm Donna. You can make them using pre-cut tags, or you can grab a copy of my scan and cut FCM file and cut out your own. Now if you use my scan and cut FCM file, once you've got them cut out, you'll be able to make them up and use them as little tickets as well. So you'll have a double use for them. You know, you can just use them similar to that. They're a little, the purchase ones will be a different shape, that's all. I've just created this shape to be suitable to make these little journals. Now we're going to use deli paper for the pages because deli paper's nice and thin and it won't take up a lot of room inside the journal. This mini journal's ideal for using up tiny little bits of scraps. This is an Edith Holden page, so definitely a piece of page that I don't want to waste, so I'll keep that. That is big enough or small enough to make a mini journal out of, so we'll make one out of that. And it's ideal to make as a charm. You know, you could hang it off the side of your book, because we're going to put little holes in them, and you could hang them off the side of a full-size journal and make them into a charm. Now I'm going to show you two styles. One will be, you know, like your traditional vintage style, and this one's got a bit of seam binding ribbon tied around it, so it's quite vintagey. We're going to use the hot foiling to give them still a vintage look, but a modern vintage look if you like. Right, now the first thing you need to do is either get some tickets or cut out the tickets that I've supplied the pattern for. Now we're going to make the hot foil one first. So I've got a template available for you. You need to go to my website and download this template. Now this template is for hot foiling. So if you haven't got a laminator or do any hot foiling, just skip this part and I'll show you how to make the plain vintage ones shortly. So we're just going to do this one now. Right, so you need to print this out. This is important. It must be printed out on a laser printer. See my instructions there? Do not print this out on an inkjet. It won't work. So once you've printed this out on a laser printer, you don't need to put this through your heat setting laminator. So just cut this off. We're only going to put the foil on these covers here. These are the covers. I've made up 3 styles. If you only want to do one of these styles, I'll show them to you. There's the little tulip, that one there, in the gold. There's the little owl in the gold. And there's the splatters, also in the gold. And I've just glued a little paper flower on top. Now I'm going to do this in blue today so you can see it a little bit better than the gold, just for the demo. So I'm going to cut down the side here as well. This is the Heidi swap foil, so this printable here fits right inside of that, the smaller ones. Just cut off a piece, enough foil to do the job. Get your carrier sheet. If you don't have a Heidi swap machine that comes with this carrier sheet, just put your foil on top and then put this through 2 sheets of paper. So I'm going to put that in here, put my foil on top, and I'm just going to run that through my Heidi swap machine. If you've got a laminator, you just run that through your laminator. Now we've got this heat set on. I should be able to just peel it off. And I can put that aside. I'm finished with that. So that's easier for you to see now. In the gold, it's a bit hard to see on camera. Right now, the foil has gone and attached itself to the border of that, and what that has done is given you a cut line. So we'll go ahead and use that as our cut line, and we might even use the little speckled one today. So I'm just going to cut out the edge. Now I'm using the speckled one because that'll allow me to use the Creative Detailer cleanup tool, and I wanted to use it to show you that it will clean up this foil. At the moment there's really nothing else, like the tulip has, oh no, there's a few speckles there, but it's actually come out nice and clean. The owls come out nice and clean. There's a little bit of foil there, so I'll show you how good this works by using it to clean this up. Okay, see that tiny little speck there? I'm going to use that right there. I'm going to use that. It's a motorized rubber, so it spins. And I'm just going to use that there to just clean that little bit of foil off. See that? See how it just cleaned it off? So it will clean up like that. Had the one I cleaned up there, it wasn't because there was a piece of toner there. It was because the foil just decided to stick to the cardboard. So this is a handy little tool if you do a bit of heat foiling. Okay, now what we can also do is use this tool to clean up glue. So I can clean up that little bit of glue that's squished out onto the back. Now I'll give you the details of the giveaway before I go on and make this up. This is the third giveaway to add to the list of Christmas goodies for you to put your name down for. All you have to do to be in the draw is comment, "I'd love this Creative Detailer cleanup tool," and be a subscriber of my channel. The giveaway starts right now and ends next Friday night, 11 p.m, the 6th of December. That'll be Sydney time zone, Australia. So good luck in the draw. Right, now we're ready to make one of these up. So I'll just cut it out. I'm just going to put a line through that because I'm not going to use that one now. I'll just give you a tip on how I line up my ruler when I'm cutting. I'm going to use the tip of my blade. I'm going to hold it, find the tip, and I'm going to put it right on the line of the bottom of that square. So it's sort of just pivoting there. Slide that ruler till it hits the blade. Then I'm going to pivot the bottom of the ruler to that line there. So I know it's already on that line there for me. And then I know that I'm lined up right on that line. So I've cut right on that line from that end to that end as straight as I can get it. Turn it around, put the blade right on that line there. Let my ruler hit the blade and then pivot it down to the bottom, and I know that it's going to cut straight every single time. Pretty handy tip. Now I'm going to cut off the blue line here, so I don't need the blue line in my cover. I want it gone, so I'm just going to place my ruler ever so slightly to the inside. So that's my cover. Now you see there's a tiny little bit of writing on the top of each of these covers, because these are the covers of our journal, right? And these are going to be the inside of our journal, and they will end up looking like this. So that's the cover, and that's the inside. So we need two pieces. It'll all make sense in a minute. As long as when you're using my covers that you make sure that that little bit of writing is facing the top, because these covers at the moment are higher than the tags, and we'll cut that off. So that little bit of writing there will get cut off. So I'm going to turn it over. This is the front of the journal, right? So the one with the full, so you can see it there, the full messy pattern is the front of the journal. So when you turn it over, the front actually is on your left hand side. So we're going to get a bit of glue and glue it on the tag. I like to use tweezers only because my fingers don't always work so well. I'm going to put the tag right in the corner and glue it down. See how the cover's just that tiny bit taller than the top of the tag? When I turn it over, it's on the right hand side. So I'm just going to press that down, use my bone folder to flatten that down. I'm going to get another tag. I'm going to put some glue on that. This time I'm going to put it to the very right and to the very bottom. Don't worry about the top, and you'll see that gap in the middle. Now that gap in the middle is going to be your spine. So let's use the Edith Holden piece. It only has to be as wide as two pieces of the tags. So we need two tags. So it's got to be as wide as the two tags with a little bit of room in between for the spine. That allows me to fold it in the center, just like that. All right. Now I want to use that as my outside and this as my inside. So I'm going to, because I don't really have, you could use one of these as your pattern for sure, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave it down a little bit, because this is the inside, okay? And I'm just going to square it across. I know that that's going to be the bottom, so I'm just going to cut a nice straight line across the bottom there. So that's going to be the bottom of my journal, my mini journal. Okay, so that's what that's going to look like, to end up like that. So we're just basically making our own pattern. You can use anything. This is something that a tag that I found in my mum's things. I just went through her bag of goodies and I just pulled that out because it was very, you know, journal-y, if you like. So I just turned it over, and I know that I can cut that down and turn it into a journal. You know, use up anything that you've got. You know, you've got these, and look how cute that paper is. So I'll glue down these little tags. I'll glue them down. Make sure I'm the right way around. So I'm going to put it right in the corner, across the bottom and down the side, right in the corner. The top doesn't matter at all. Doesn't matter what side of this tag that you use at all. I've just, you know, scanner cut machine is brilliant for this, absolutely brilliant. That's why I designed it and made us a cut file, because if you've got a scanner cut machine, they're great. And if you haven't, like I said, just buy the tiny little tags, you know, in a pack. Make sure that's nice and even, you know, down the middle. But that's the smallest piece of scrap is all you need. That's wonderful. Now I'm going to use my ruler to score straight down the center of that gap. Square up my corners. Flatten it down. That is going to make the cutest little journal. I love this Edith Holden paper. It's my favourite. I know it's your favourite too. See, this one you can see a lot better. You can see, actually, I should have demoed that, the very first one, shouldn't I? So we start by getting the point of the knife and putting it right in the point of that and just doing a slice there. Then come back into the point where the top of the circle begins on the tag and just cut that corner away. Come back in there, and it's a very small cut. Cut that across there and then come back into the top of the circly part again and cut that corner out. Remove it, totally remove it. Okay, come back into the corner of that part of the tag again and the corner of that part of the tag again, and you've just got that little bit there. Now we're going to cut that bit out here, so I'm going to just slice that bit off there. Remember, this still won't be cut out yet on this one. It's still there. So you can't see that very well there, but I'm just cutting it right down there and removing that little piece there. So I've got that squared there. Now I'm just going to cut out that nice rounded shape at the top. I'm going to use my tag as my guide. So I'm just going to get my fussy cut scissors and I'm going to follow the tag around to cut that down on that one. How easy that is. Get them out of the way so you can see better. And do the same again. Try and get your cuts as neat as you can so you don't have jagged edges, because you will get jagged edges on that side. So that's pretty much it. That's how you cut that one out. And we'll do it again on this one. So first cut that piece out and cut your corner away. Remove it. Cut that piece out. Cut your corner away. Remove it. I'm going to cut the corners out of the middle. This time fold it in half. Come back and remove that corner in 2 layers. You're left with the square top. That's why we leave a little bit of cardboard on the top here, so that you've got something to cut away. If it was too close to the top of that tag, it would be a lot harder to cut out. So just follow the tag around using it as your template. And you've got yourself another cover for a mini journal. So there are 3 styles. You've got your modern vintage. If it wasn't blue, I think it would be quite modern vintage. And another vintage, the makings of a vintage, and a definite Edith Holden vintage. So I'll just get the table ready for the pages to be put in. And we're going to use deli paper for the pages because this paper won't take up a lot of room inside the journal. Right, so they're pretty easy to make. Just need a stapler. You can put a stitch in it if you haven't got a little tiny stapler. Okay, so you need a 12 by 12 sheet of deli paper or something similar, as long as it's nice and light. Now what I've done here is I've pre-cut some strips. So these strips here need to be, if you're going to poke a hole in it, like there's a hole in this tag, if you're going to poke a hole in it, your pages need to fit below the hole and just above here. So I've made them quite short. You could make them from there and add a little bit of length on if you want. The measurements that I'm giving you at the moment is going to make the pages just a little bit shorter than the tag. You need to cut some strips. I've used centimetres for this demonstration, 20 millimetres or 2 centimetres. Okay, so I put my ruler mark here. It's another good way to use the tip that I just showed you. So I put my 2 centimetre mark there, and I just put a pencil mark there. 2 centimetre mark up here, put a pencil mark there. I put my pencil on that line there and let my ruler slide up to the pencil. Then I pivot my ruler to the bottom marker, and I now know that that is ready to cut off. I don't have to, you know, sort of stand there and try and work out. You're using my eye, like so if I go this way, this is how most people would measure, and go this way, you sort of line, it's hard, it's so habit that I do it. You try and line that up there and then line that up there, and you know, you go backwards and forwards trying to line up them two lines. If you just put your pencil straight on that line, push your ruler up to the lead of your pencil, and then line that bottom line up, it's so much quicker. You just cut that straight down. All right, what we can also do, that's a nice clean line for your pages. What we can also do is have teared pages, so just tear off a piece. You do have to sacrifice a tiny piece of your deli paper. Believe me, I've got 100 sheets of this stuff. I can lose a little bit. I'm not worried at all. Now I need to work out that I need it roughly the size that we're making our pages. So I'm going to turn it around this time so I get the rip looking the same. Line it up because it only needs to be rough, and then rip it again. So now I've got a ripped strip of deli paper. Not a lot of difference, but when you start folding the pages up, you'll see it just gives that nice little vintagey look. So we shall make it up using the ripped one first. All I'm going to do is make it in the concertina style. So we fold the pages backwards and forwards. So you work out how wide your book is, and then you do your first line to there. So just make sure that it's just a tiny bit, your pages need to be a tiny bit wider than your cover. Turn it over, and we're going to fold it back the other way. Got that? So we've got a Z, if you like. Then we fold it over, turn it over again, and fold it back the other way. Turn it over, and fold it again. And just keep doing that until you get right to the end. Doesn't matter if your pages creep a little bit because we're going to cut them off. Turn it over. Okay, so there's our little concertina pages. Get the ruler out and plonk him straight on top. I'm going to cut off all of those fold lines, hold it down firmly and just cut through and just get rid of all of those little fold lines. Now you've got all separate pages. You've still got a fold on one side. You need that fold on the left side. So it doesn't matter which way you pick these up now. Put them inside each other. If you see those pencil lines, get rid of them now. They're just the width mark. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages. Keep that one for another book. So we need 5 pages per mini journal. Okay. Now they're all in there. See that lovely ribbed effect? You couldn't see it so much, you know, when it was a single strip, but it looks good when they're all put together. Now I'm going to put my finger, now I've got them all stacked in together. I've got a small stapler. I'm holding the left side of these papers. I'm making sure that all of the center ones are together. Pinching with my left hand, letting go with my right hand. Just sliding that stapler up to there, and I'm going to line it up, and I'm going to put a staple right on that fold line, right there. It is better that you get it in the middle, you know, as even top to bottom. It's not the end of the world if you don't, because we're going to glue that in and you're not going to see it. If you need to, just flatten it down with your bone folder. Because the deli paper is nice and thin, it just lays nice and flat anyway. So now we've got the pages ready, so you just sit them in that spine area and pinch it together. Lay it down on the table, get your pencil, and just put a pencil mark even with the cover. Now that there is the width of the cover. So if you put your ruler on there and cut it, it will be the same width as the cover. So I'm just going to move it to the left a little bit, and I'm going to cut all of that off. Hold it quite firm so nothing moves and it doesn't slip around. And there are the pages, and they fit in there, and when you close it you can't see the edge. That's why I cut it off that tiny bit shorter so it disappears. Now before we glue the pages in, I am going to colour the cover so it gives it that more vintage appeal again. So I'm going to use Vintage Photo. I'm going to use the new dome blenders that I've got, and there is a giveaway for that that's on my channel at the moment. This will end Tuesday night. I think it's the 3rd of December. I'll put that a little message here right now. But these dome blenders, I've got 1 pack to give away of this. Now, you don't need a lot of ink. I'm just going to grab some off the side. And because it's a small cover, don't use all of your foam to colour the edge. Just grab a little bit, and just because it's a small area, you only want to colour a small area. If you want to come in further and go really, really dark, you can do that. But you see this one here, I've just got a little bit of colour around the edge because I want the Edith Holden paper to be my feature. You can often turn it back in the other way and come back and just put some colour to the inside. You can actually make this a little bit more if you want to get rid of a lot of that white, because it is only the white ticket. You can colour a little bit more. I didn't add any more ink to, you know, my dome blender, but I just used what was on it, and that gives me, you know, a more vintage look on the inside again. So now I'm ready to glue the pages in. I'm using the art glitter glue. I'm just going to run a very thin bead of that in there. Just put it on a little bit of an angle, get my pages, and I'm just going to sit them in there. Pretty much it. I'm going to grab a needle. Now I've got some really big needles. These were my mum's. They're like big needles that I think they were sewing like those big Hessian sacks up with. I've got 2 of these, and these are awesome. I use them. I have them here on my table all the time. I use them for so many things. The other thing is you can get your fingernail and push it down into that crease, you know, that little area that we have here. If you put too much glue, it'll squish out of here and make a mess, and your pages will glue themselves to the front and back cover. So I like to just try and make it glued to here. If your pages gape open permanently like that, and that's not how you like it, you can wait a while for the glue to dry, and see how they're gaping in the center here. I got a little bit of glue and I glued the 2 center pages with the staple in between, and I glued those 2 pages together. I just wait a little while for this glue to settle down and go off in here. So not too much glue, you don't want it to come out in here, but that's pretty much held itself very nicely into there. That won't come out, and it makes for a really tough journal. Like, I can really, you know, get in there, and it's no way that's going to come out. I don't have to be treating it fragile after I've glued it in. It stays there. And this is also a piece of the Edith Holden paper on this one. And all I've done is I just ripped a very skinny piece off here where there was some writing in her page. This was a leftover. I just ripped it off, and on my cover I just got the ink and I just scraped the ink straight up the cover, and it didn't look so good. Oh, what did I do that for? I've ruined it. But remember my last video? I said that you don't ruin anything. There's always a fix for things. So I just come back along and I glued a piece of that on it, and then I cut it off to the shape of the tag at the top and the bottom, and that's fixed. That's ready to poke a hole in and turn it into a charm. Right, now we'll poke a hole in it. You can go for a biggish hole like this one here. I've used this size hole in this journal, or you can use a smaller hole like in this one. You can barely see it. If you haven't got a hole punch, you can use a pokey tool, just something that you use to do, you know, your journal pages when you're sewing in your signatures, whatever you've got that will poke a hole through. I just come along, I took the string off, so whatever string that you've got left over, I've just put it back through the back piece so I can still open the little book as a charm. If you enjoy making tiny little things, you enjoy the minis, and you like tags, and you love your little journals, you're going to love making these little mini tag journals. Make them as a charm, make them as an embellishment, add them to something else, glue them onto another tag. One thing that I now know about all of you creatives out there is that I can show you the bare basics of how to do something, and when everyone comes and shows me what they made, I just go, wow. Well, I'm very surprised at what people come back and show me what their version is of how they, make things up with what I've given them, the patterns that I've given you to do things with. So I know you're going to love having to play around with these little journals. I'm Donna, thanks for watching, and bye for now.
My heart is rising, I'm taking it step by step. I'm running and running, I'm not slowing down.